So, Ronnie and David, you are
All right.
back from Malawi. You never got to go to Mozambique, but you had two solid weeks in Malawi. The first one was phase two. Ronnie, why don't you
Mhm.
tell me how did that go? What was one of the highlights for you?
In Malawi, this was a unique experience for us. It's our first time to have Timothy's come with Timothy's. So we had two general and other than all other trips, these guys showed us we are serious. We have been doing the work. We've been, faithful, and we have come with our Timothy's. And for us, we didn't know how to handle this. We always have about 20, 15, and we are
Mm.
good with that in phase twos. But this one was 80. David, we had about 83
Mm-hmm.
total up. These guys that came with their Timothy's, and it's for us it was very amazing to see that happen. That these guys have been doing the actual work practically, not theoretically. So we got to uh, to
And
be happy seeing that.
David, did you find that the Timothys that came, the second generation, your second generation Timothys, they understood the phase one material?
Well, yeah, I was going to say that was my biggest highlight to see the Timothy's teaching and they know what they are teaching. Not that they are trying out, but they understand very well when they were giving out the rope analogy, when they are talking about multiplication, and they say it and they have done it. They showcase what they have been doing. For me, that was the biggest highlight, just to see them understanding what they are doing.
And Ronnie, what was one of your highlights? What were some of the testimonies from the people that you trained last time in phase one that really excited you?
Yeah, I mean, again, these guys were doing something that we have never done. They are doing interdenomination. They're training even Muslims. So some of their Timothys are Muslims. Some of their Timothys are Catholics, and they're like, we're just open. Whoever wants to learn, come and learn. And to us, I think that's where you say that when to see the success of what you're doing is when your Timothy is doing better than you. For us, that was interesting. We were like, how do they even do that? How do they even explain a rope to a Muslim, church and congregation, and how does that even work? So we're like, I think this is where we get the book and pen and ask them, how do you guys do it? So
Mm.
for us, well, to me, that was a plus to see that they're really excelling. It's like we have trained about 50 pastors and church leaders, and we meet. Did they say they meet 3 times in a week? And we're like, okay. Well, when you look at him, sorry to say again, physical appearance, and he doesn't even look to be like a pastor. Here in Africa, when you're a pastor, you put on suits and everything, but the way he's putting on, the way he is towards it was mind blowing. And to me, that was my best highlight to see that there are people that are have enough to train without they didn't call us to ask for food. They didn't call us to ask for anything. And it's the poorest village. We were just awed and amazed. How did they even get to do that?
David, what was another one of your highlights?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, but still on multiplication and how they are doing it on the basic way, how they came up with a fellowship that they are a certain group of 42 people meet
Oh.
every 5 a.m. to 6
Mhm.
a.m. to discuss the material every day without ceasing. And during the discussion, there was one lady who said that I used to be very lazy. I could not even wake up to cook tea for my husband. But now, because of this fellowship, when I come from fellowship at 6 a.m., I cannot go back to bed. So I start cooking and doing the thing, so I'm no longer lazy. Then another woman said that
Mhm.
I was very sick when I joined the fellowship. And in between, as we continued learning, I don't know when I got healed, but I am healed. Then there was another guy who came up with a spade, and he told us I did not get a rope to teach, but I took a spade and just tied something small like a mud at the center of the spade. I put the mud to show that eternity past, eternity future, and today. So I like how they are able to use available material to explain what you have been teaching them and to make people understand. I mean, for me, that's amazing.
And David, also talk about the gentleman who at his shop, he's either a guard or something, but he meets 15 minutes every day and
Oh,
teaches.
Ah, yeah, yeah. And you know what? When we were training and he was just keeping quiet, you couldn't understand that he has something to say until when we gave them an opportunity each to talk. And he started saying, for him, I am a guard, I work at night and sometimes at day. And so we were thinking, where is this story going with the multiplication and the training
mm,
that we are talking about? And then he told us that it was not until one day that somebody died in that company, and so he was given permission to talk. So he talked about living for God's glory, and from there,
mm,
the boss gave him a minute to keep on talking. So every day, he is a guard, but every
mm,
day he has 15 minutes with the whole company, with all employees. Every day, 15 minutes.
mm,
So that keeps him
mhm.
upstairs. He has to be very prepared. So he has to continue reading the material, preparing what to teach next. And I like the way he does not take the whole topic and do shortcuts. He takes the topic, he can train one topic the whole week, 15 minutes, small bit by bit, but he is doing amazing work.
And so, Ronnie, talk about
Mm.
how did they respond to the phase two teaching?
Well, again, it was mind blowing and opening for them. So we met, we landed into a problem that we landed into that is in Burundi, when it comes to the subjunctive verbs. It's interesting
Mm.
that the
Mm.
people who translate the local versions of the Bible, they can I don't know if they just overlook it. I don't know if they don't know what to say, or there's no any local word, but they seem to to just assume it. And again, so we're talking about subjunctive verb, and we are realizing that the guy who is interpreting, he's saying, "Hey, first wait," because what we do is we ask them to read the Bible in their local language, okay, so that it hits different. And so we see the guy who is translating, well, in interpreting, taking slightly a longer time. And again, he tells us, guys, let's get another version. Let's get another version. So they had to think aloud, three versions, and they were all missing out. And he had to explain to them, now let's read from the English version. And versions actually to see that it's not one version that is putting the subjunctive verb. They found that in the English versions there is subjunctive verb, but the local version there's no subjunctive verb. And that also helped us and also helped them to to learn that when they're doing good Bible study, they should at least get a couple of versions so that they can get to see what does this say, what does this doesn't say. Because again, what we found out and what they also found out, that subjunctive verb, once it's missed out, it changes a whole lot of things there. So they were amazed at the subjunctive verb, and they were like, now this makes sense. Because to them it was just like the Bible becoming new to them with the subjunctive verbs in there. So it was amazing to see that happening.
David, what about you? How did you see them responding to the phase two teaching? What was a highlight for you?
One of the key highlights, I remember there's this bishop who attended 2 days on the last training. And so this time round, he came out
Mhm.
with some other like three bishops, and they were all sitting and listening to what we are teaching. And one of them said, I've been a bishop, but I've never learned anything about the two goats. And
The two
that
gods,
has
yeah.
changed my mind. I thought that I knew the Bible. I have gone through the Bible over 6 times. I teach it, but I never had this kind of a revelation. And this is why I came to this seminar for the second time. So he was calling others just to come and join, even if they are getting the second phase, they missed the first phase, but they are able to get something. In Africa, sometimes it's not easy for the so-called bishops and fathers to attend such kind of training whereby we have two young gentlemen who are teaching. But for them to come and sit humbly to listen to this and later on tell us, gentlemen, whatever you are teaching, it is great. And we just pray that if this is possible for you to come and teach our forefathers, our gatekeepers in this area so that they can also be able to understand this is the right message that needs to be taught.